So while doing that, let's just do a bit of. I want to ask, in our just who is distracting us? Please meet yourself. Who is that? Kindly mute yourself, please. Once you join in, mute. Okay. All right. So I'm still expecting more numbers. We are just less than 30. So please inform everyone in your groups that we started. So let's see which GSAG is already represented here. We have Ecotech, Regenerators. Okay, seems like they are winning. Green Premiers. But supposed to be like 6 GSAG, policy and leadership. So there's a particular GSAG that a bit 2 GSAGs are not even here at all.
No. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, that I understand. Sorry, yeah. Yeah.
Please mute yourself. Lloyd, Abdullahi, mute yourself. So we have some GSAGs that are not even here. Okay, so we'd like to ask before we start today's section, what are we going to be discussing today? Let's type in the theme of today's lecture to be sure that we are even ready. If you can hear me, please let's go type the theme of today's discussion or what we are going to be discussing tonight. Let's have that in the chat room. Quickly. We understand that some of you have decided to log in and kept your phone one side and doing other things, at least from the unmuted mic. Some people are doing other things. So whatever you want to do, do it, but please don't distract us, okay? And we'll know if you followed or not, because you can be called upon to answer questions. So get ready. All right, just one person knows. Okay, I can see response from Abdullahi. Okay, that's not a full team. Climate change. What about climate change? Understanding climate change and inspiring climate. Who got that phrase? You have a gift from me. I think Temi Oluwa Oyelola. Okay, so you have a gift from me. You got that first. Just DM me for your gifts. All right, thank you for responding. Let's keep up the numbers. Please inform them. I want us to reach at least 50 before I bring up our facilitator. However, time is running out. So having said that, I just want us to do a quick trivia. We told us to research on the Sustainable Development Goals and on climate change, right? So quick question. Anybody that knows what SDG 5 is? I know we know SDG 13 already. So what's SDG 5? The second question is, what's the difference between greenhouse effects and greenhouse gases? Sorry, greenhouse effect and global warming. Whose video is on? They're distracting us. Please turn it off. Global warming and greenhouse effect. Anyone? Okay, gender equality. I got someone who got it first. Amazing. Who is that person? Ahmed. Okay, I can't pronounce your other name, so let me not massacre it. Gender equality. Okay, great. All right. Yes. Anybody? I'm using a bit of time to increase this number. Please, 38 is not a good number. We're still less than half, and our facilitator is really ready for us. So quickly. Yes, SDG 5. The next thing I asked is any difference in your own word or whatever you read. Difference between global warming and the greenhouse effect. Or we don't know. Okay, let me ask one more question. And that'll be all. After we shall bring up our facilitator. So the United Nations has an administrative office in Africa. Where is it located from what you've read? Anybody? Anybody? Since I didn't get responses from difference between global warming and greenhouse effect. However, just know that these are things that will be discussed in today's um, lecture. Okay, someone has responded. Greenhouse effect is a natural process that keeps Earth warm, while global warming is excessive warming due to human activities, enhancing the natural greenhouse effect. Amazing. Okay, please keep your responses rolling in. So, nobody is getting the answer to the United Nations headquarters here in Africa, administrative office in Africa. All right, that's fine. Without further ado, we are going to call on our facilitator. Yeah, so please, for those of you on YouTube, while the lecture is going on, let us know that you're on YouTube, watching. Let's know you're streamed via YouTube. Let's get your comments. Ensure that you can put in your questions there should you have any at the end of it. Okay. So I just want to say that today's GSAT is just for you to have done your own homework, and now it's time for you to get it well understood. This is the reason why we also decided to say, okay, what's the nexus between your field or your profession? And most of you gave, how it concerns your field. That shows that irrespective of your field or your profession, the SDG is something that is very interdependent. Okay, so it concerns everybody, whether you're studying law, medicine, name it, whatever you might be studying, you should be a part of this movement. And I'm glad that you are still here. And I'm sure at the end of day 7, you'll be like, oh, wow, thank God I made it. All right, then. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, let's increase this number. Before I bring up our facilitator on stage, let's increase it to at least 15. So at this juncture, I will be reading out our great facilitators profile. Okay, and when I'm done reading, I would like you to please go to the chat room and welcome him, because he deserves all the clapping ovation. Okay, so even before I'm done, you can start clapping, dropping the clap emojis, because it's very important. So now we already know that we are discussing on the theme, understanding climate change and inspiring climate action. So to read our dear facilitator profile, this is who we are bringing on stage. So we have facilitator Chris Ikechi. Is a dynamic, results-oriented professional with a strong background in business development, program management, and data analytics. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and an ordinary national diploma in computer science from Federal Polytechnic Oko, Anambra State. As a business development support specialist at System Specs, Chris Ikechi provides critical support in lead generation, research, proposal development, and data-driven decision-making using tools such as Excel, Power BI, and R. He also contributes to product usability testing and ensuring quality improvement that meet user needs. Driven by a deep passion for climate education and environmental action, Chris Ikechi plays a pivotal role as a program officer with Plugin Nigeria. In this capacity, he designs and implements impactful programs that promote sustainability and community engagement. His efforts focus on youth empowerment, particularly through initiatives like the Green Switch
Not be mess.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, can you hear me? I was reading our
Yes, we
network
can hear
just.
you.
You can hear me now. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know when last you heard me. Profile. So let me just wrap up quickly while we bring him on stage. Please, let's take this number to 50, okay? Sorry about the network. Sorry about the network. It just went up that way. Okay, so I was reading our amazing profile of our facilitator, and I don't know if you heard the part where I said he's a program officer with Plugin Nigeria. He's also an advocate for digital innovation and committed to leveraging digital tools and data analytics to drive impactful campaigns and raise awareness of critical social and environmental issues. With a strong sense of purpose, exceptional organizational skills, and a passion for sustainable solutions, Chris continues to be an invaluable contributor to projects that inspire climate responsibility and promote lasting change. So everyone, at this juncture, I want you to go to the chat room and make welcome our dear facilitator, Mr. Chris Ikechi. Can we hear me? Go to the chat room. People are not clapping. What's happening? Go to the chat room. Welcome him. You're welcome. You're welcome. If you can stand while clapping, do that, okay? All right, please, I want you to ensure that you listen attentively. Please pay attention. As you get point when you're speaking, put it in the chat room, make it very interactive. Put your questions, get them ready also, and we'll definitely take them. So, Chris Ikechi, please, you have the floor. So sorry about the network and the time shoots. All right, you can take it up from here. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. Yeah, thank you everyone for welcoming him.
All
Hi,
right.
Chris. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. It's actually a privilege to be here this evening to have this conversation, and thank you, Gift, for that wonderful introduction. Somebody I was wondering if I'm the one that has been introduced because um that was a lot. Thank you so much, and thank you, the amazing Greenies, for paying attention and also for being here to this moment. So, just give me a moment while I try to bring up my presentation so that we can start the presentation for tonight. So while we're waiting for the slides to come up, I would like to ask, how have you been? How has the academy been for you so far? Hope you're enjoying yourself. Hope you are learning new things and unlearning old things. You can just send messages to the chat so that so that we know that you are with me and you understand what Kafaya says. The academy has been educational and interesting. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, sorry.
Hello, Chris.
Hey guys,
Okay.
sorry, I'm having a bit of challenge
Oh, sorry.
sharing my screen. Just give me a moment while I sort that out.
Okay. Um, all right.
I think we finally cracked it. So sorry for the delay. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, once again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope that this session is as interesting as I expect it to be. Like Gift mentioned, uh, there might be times when I'll be asking you questions and you need to answer them, and then we'll interact and try to have as much fun as possible. So today we'll be talking about understanding climate change and taking action. So the table of contents, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to discuss what climate change is. We're going to discuss who Avery's Innovair is. We're going to discuss the realities, the science of climate change, and we are going to discuss practical steps for taking action. So I think we are behind schedule already, so I'll just get to it. So I think I've been introduced. My name is Chris Ikechi, and it's a pleasure to be here. A privilege to share with you this knowledge, and I hope it turns out to be a fun-filled session, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get to it. What is climate change? First of all, I like us to define climate, and then we can now try to define climate change, because I think if you're in Nigeria and the word change is something you must have been very conversant with, especially since the latest administration in government that we have. So if you're not Nigerian, also change is a word that is quite often used in many different spaces. So, but climate is not. So I would like us to try to define climate. So if you have your own definition of climate, you can try to drop it in the chat box while we continue. So climate refers to the long-term average weather patterns and condition of a specific region over a considerable period, typically spanning decades or centuries. So this is important. What is important here is not just the definition, but the time frame that is being discussed. It's long-term. Climate is long-term. It is not a short period thing. It is long-term. Now, change climate change is a change in the average temperature and cycles of weather over a long period of time. So we now see the definition of climate. Great, thank you very much, Atanda. We now see the definition of climate and we see the definition of climate change. So climate change is a long-term average weather pattern and condition of a specific region. So two things here, it is long-term and it has to do with a pattern. So it is not random, it is a pattern, it follows a trend and it happens in a particular location and it happens for a specific period of time. So while climate change is now the change in the average temperature and cycles of weather over a long period of time. Now, when my bio was being read, I'm very sure that most of you have noticed that I am into data analytics. So the numbers are my friend, and they don't lie actually. So since the 1880s, scientists have kept thermometer-based records of global surface temperature. What is happening to global temperature? The planet is becoming warmer and the climate is changing. So if you look to the graph here, if you're the type that is interested in looking at graphs and understanding what they mean, if you're that kind of person, then you will understand the shift. The shift between the shift in change in the climate, the global warming between the year 2020 and the projection for the year 2034. So since 1880, these records have been kept, and you could see that it is for those of us in that do crypto or forex trading, it is bullish. So it keeps going up, right? And this change is what is causing some of the issues that we're facing. So it is expected that by the January of 2034, the global warming would reach 1.5 degrees centigrade. Now, 1.5 doesn't seem like a big number, but then we'll try to understand it as we progress in the conversation we're going to be having. So, Evridi Sinove, who is Evridi Sinove? Evridi Sinove is a unique type of entrepreneur or innovator who not only identifies needs of problems and creates solutions through business ventures, but does so with a deep commitment to sustainability and environmental consciousness. Now, if you look at the dictionary definition of an innovator or an entrepreneur, you will see that everything that an innovator or an entrepreneur does is geared towards two things: problem solving and profit making. So you solve a problem so that people have a solution to the problem. But then you're not just doing that, you're solving the problem so that people have a solution, and then you can get value for providing that solution at the end of the day. That is the mindset of a normal day-to-day innovator or entrepreneur. Now, the difference here is for the Viridis Innove, it is not just about building solutions. It's not just about creating this solution. It is about creating these solutions with a deep commitment to sustainability and environmental consciousness. So you're not just creating a solution, you're creating a solution and having in the back of your mind the consequences or impact of the solutions you're creating on the environment, on the planet that we live in. So that is what a Viridis Innovator is. Now we have a comparison between the Viridis Innovator and a regular entrepreneur or innovator. So some of the key traits for the entrepreneur, they think creatively and develop new solutions to existing problems. Like I said, it is all about building solutions. For the Viridis Innovator, they are eco innovations. They create eco innovations. They create sustainable solutions for environmental challenges, and not just environmental challenges, but any other form of challenge, any other type of problem. The difference is in the mindset, the idea, the commitment to build solutions that have as little impact as possible on the environment that they find themselves. For the entrepreneur, for the entrepreneur, slide is not changing. Are you sure? Please, if this slide is not changing, just let me know. So for not, oh, not changing. Oh, okay. It's showing table of content. Please let me know if it's changing now.
Yeah, I did not even know that changing the slide. I thought you were still on table of content, but it has
No,
changed
no.
now.
Okay, please confirm you are looking at shall we?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So thank you very much. I spoke about the numbers don't lie, and this is the graph that I was talking about. If you're seeing the graph now, so this is the graph that shows from 1970s to 2020, and then a projection from 2020 to 2034. And you see how the graph is on upward trajectory, almost continuous. So what this means is that there's a forecast that by January 2034, there will be a change in temperature to the equivalent of 1.5 degrees Celsius. So 1.5, like I said, might not look like a big number, all right, on its own. But when as we continue the lecture, you will understand why 1.5 is a huge difference when it comes to climate and changing of the climate, all right? So we went ahead to talk about the Viridis Innovator, talked about the unique quality of a Viridis Innovator over the regular uh, innovator or entrepreneur. And then I was talking about the key difference between an innovator that has the environment at the back of their mind and an innovator that is just a regular innovator with profit and solution, providing solutions at the back of their mind. So we mentioned that for the Viridis Innovator, sustainability is the bedrock of their decisions in their business. So they prioritize long-term ecological balance in business goals. while the regular innovators, their own is they're willing to take risks to achieve their goal, no matter what it takes, whatever it takes to get what they want, they're going to do it, whether it's detrimental to the environment, the planet. They don't really think about that so much. It doesn't matter to them as much as it matters to the Viridis innovator. So another key trait that I wanted to mention is ethical responsibility. They ensure transparent and environmentally beneficial practices, while the regular entrepreneurs, they persist through challenges and setbacks. They have this resilience. So for an entrepreneur, for example, that wants to go into making um, table water, they have no concern for how much waste they generate, how much PET bottles they produce and introduce into the environment. They have no concern about that. But for an innovator with an eco-conscious innovator, it is important to them that they make provisions for how these PET bottles will be properly disposed, recycled, or upcycled so that they don't get into the wrong places and they don't get disposed inappropriately. So the other thing is market awareness. They leverage the demand for sustainable products and services. So an innovator that I would call a Viridis innovator is that innovator that is trying to innovate for sustainable products and services. So an innovator that is looking into building solar panels, an innovator that is looking into doing things that will help the environment. That is what differentiates that person from the regular entrepreneur. So the question now is, do you know any Viridis innovator? Could be an individual or a business company. Mention some of them in the chat box if you know anybody, anyone. So do you know anybody, any business, any individual, any corporate organization that have the environment at the forefront of their decision when it comes to business decisions? If you know any of them, you can drop their names in the chat box so we could hear about them, know them, and maybe for some of us that are interested, maybe do some research if this is the first time you're hearing about them. But if you don't know anyone, then that tells you how much work that needs to be done, how much work we have to do to get to Adejoke. Yeah, thank you. I saw that. Planetary R, of course, of course. So let's look at the science of climate change. So if you look at the slide I have up on the screen now, you will see the picture that I have. So CO2, there's carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor, H2O, are greenhouse gases that are found in the atmosphere. Okay. So this part of the presentation is a bit techy. So for those of us that we are science students, we had A's and B's in chemistry, we might find this easy to understand. But if this is the first time you're hearing about methane and all these things, just pay attention. I'll try to break it down as much as I can, okay? So carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, CH4, and water vapor, H2O. These are the greenhouse gases they are found in the atmosphere. Now, the process starts when energy travels from the sun to the earth as a short wave radiation. It does not interact strongly with these greenhouse gas molecules, so it reaches the earth's surface. So when the sun rays come down to us, they don't interact with these gases, so they reach us on the surface of the earth. Okay. Now, the other side of the B side of the conversation is the earth surface itself emits long wavelength radiations. Remember, the sun radiates short wavelengths. The earth releases long wavelength radiation. This does interact with greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gas molecules absorb some of the energy, trapping it in the atmosphere. This process keeps the earth warm and is essential for life on the planet that we live in. So this process that I just described to you is how earth is able to sustain life, unlike some other planets like the Plutos, the Venuses, and all the rest of them. Okay, so first of all, the rays from the sun, they come in short wavelength, they pass through, they don't interact with these gases, the greenhouse gases. Now the earth itself emits long wavelength radiations that now does this interaction with the greenhouse gases. And then the greenhouse gas molecule absorbs some of the energies and trap it in the atmosphere. And this is how we have a planet that is able to sustain life. Now, the higher the proportion of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more radiation is absorbed. This causes a rise in the temperature of the earth and is known as the greenhouse effect. This increase in temperature drives climate change. Now, all the plenty English that we've been speaking since is basically comes down to this. So the first part of the conversation, remember, the radiation from the sun comes to us in short wavelength. The radiation from the earth's surface goes up in long wavelength. Now, when the interaction happens and there are more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, they absorb more of this radiation, and this causes the temperature to rise above what is supposed to be, basically. So there is a temperature that the earth has that is adequate for life to exist on the planet. Now, when that temperature is low, it's a problem. When it's too low, it's a problem. When it's too high, it's a problem. So if there is an increase in the greenhouse effect, then that increase is what is causing the temperature to rise, which in turn causes what we now call climate change. I would like some reactions in the chat room so that I know that you're following me and you understand what I'm talking about before we go to the next slide. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, what causes climate change? We have the industrial processes and waste. We have burning of fossil fuel and deforestation. So for industrial processes, methane from landfills account for about 11% of the global methane emission, with methane being 25 times more potent than CO2 over 100 years. Now, this is important. You remember when we spoke about the different gases, that the greenhouse gases, the three different versions of them, the methane, the CO2, and the H2O. Now, when we have landfills, they emit this methane, and methane is then contributes to about is 25 times more potent than CO2 over 100 years. Now, anytime you hear climate change, what comes to people's mind is CO2. But the truth is that methane does more damage over a longer period. And now remember that climate is a long period thing, it's not a short time thing, it's not weather, it is climate. So climate is a long time thing, and methane over time is 24 times more potent, more likely to cause climate change than CO2 is. Now, for burning of fossil fuel, this is the one that most people know about, which is fossil fuels account for 75% of global greenhouse gas emission and nearly 90% of all carbon dioxide emission in 2021, according to the United Nations. So this is a topic that is being discussed and talked about in almost every phase, in almost every sphere. People talk about stop burning fossil fuel, alternative energy, and stuff and stuff and stuff. The reason is because burning of fossil fuel contributes to 75% of the global greenhouse gases. And remember who were defining, who were doing the chemistry and the science of it, we mentioned that the more the greenhouse gases that are emitted that are in the atmosphere are being reacted with, the more we have a rise in temperature, the more we have climate change in essence. So fossil fuel accounts for 75% of global gas greenhouse gas emission and nearly 90% of all carbon dioxide emission in 2021, according to the UN. So this is a very, very important factor as to why we are where we are currently when it comes to climate change. Now, deforestation, the world loses approximately 10 million hectares of forest each year, releasing around 8% of annual global carbon emission. So between the fossil fuel burning and deforestation, we have 75% and 8%. So we now, if you do the maths, you see that we are well over 80% of global carbon emission come from just these two factors, burning of fossil fuel and deforestation. Just the two of them combined to give you over 80%. So they contribute a lot, and they are one of the major causes of climate change. Now, you might be wondering, what is the effect of this climate change? The effects are as simple as rising temperatures, rising sea levels, extreme weather events, loss of biodiversity, food and water security. Now, you might be wondering how climate change affects food and water security. I mean, it is important for you to know that, so sorry, I have a call. Sorry about that. So it's important for you to know that climate as a factor when it comes to agriculture cannot be overestimated. And like we said, climate is a periodic thing and it happens to particular places. So it's important for people to be able to know when there is going to be dry season, know when there's going to be rainy season, so that people can be able to plant, harvest time, seed time, and all those things. So imagine a situation where there is extreme weather events, there is flooding, crops get overrun by water, and we lose the harvest at the end of the day. So all these factors contribute, like all these things, rising temperatures, rising sea level, extreme weather events, loss of biodiversity, they all contribute to the issue of food and water security, because when you have rising temperatures, some particular crops cannot cannot survive at certain temperatures. While for sea levels, when the water overflow their banks, they go into farms, they destroy farmlands, they destroy crops and produce. For extreme weather events, when there is a tsunami, I'm not sure any farm is going to survive a tsunami. You understand? So these are the issues and these are some of the challenges that people face all over the world. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is the practical steps for taking action. So the first thing you need to do as somebody that wants to be a viridis innovator is to assess your business impact. Perform a carbon footprint analysis, identify areas for improvement, energy use, transportation, waste management. Also, integrate sustainable practices. For example, switch to LED lighting, use renewable energy source local materials, implement policies, recycling programs, eco-friendly supply agreements. Now, all this plenty English that you're hearing is trying to tell you that there are practical ways that you can actually infuse the mindset of caring for your environment and being conscious of how in your quest to make ends meet, in your quest to build a business, in your quest to build a solution, you are putting your environment into consideration. Now, how do you do that? Like we said, practical steps, energy use. You run a business. Now, when I talk about these things, I don't use examples that are far-fetched. I like to use examples that are very, very relatable, examples of things that we do. So most of us here, some of us here, we own a business. Maybe we sell Ankara clothes, maybe we sell shoes, we sell bags, we have a small shop where we do these sales. Maybe we have a barbering salon or what have you. We have a charging station where people come and charge their phones and stuff. So, how do you infuse the idea of caring for your environment and making sure that you do not contribute to these issues that we just discussed? For somebody that owns a barbering salon, for example, there are clippers that are rechargeable. Now, one thing that I tell people is that when we talk about sustainability, we're not saying that you need to stop everything. You need to cut out anything that is not environmentally friendly. Me personally, I preach is that whatever you can avoid, whatever you can do without, you don't need to do them. For example, like I said, you own a barbering salon, and some of us will have you have a plaza where there's a barbering salon, there's a place people charge phones. Maybe there is somebody else that does salon of some other sorts and whatever you have. Now, if all of you come together and maybe for some one person it might be too expensive, but all of you, three, four, five persons can come together and get yourselves okay, thank you, and get yourselves a solar panel, just a couple of solar panel and an inverter, and then you can be able to start practicing what we are preaching. You can get yourself a clipper that is rechargeable. So once you charge it, you can use it for multiple customers without the need to on the generator. So these are some of the practical ways that you can actually infuse this thing that we're learning into your business. You own a home, you have a house, you're going out, you're leaving your lights on, your fan is on, your fridge is always on, even when everything is completely cold, everything is always on in your house. That is not it. You don't have the environment at heart. And this is not just about business now, about your daily life, your personal life. You want to go out. If the place you're going to, you can get a comfortable public transport, you should be able to take that option instead of having to drive and contribute to the CO2 that we're already saying is so much in the environment. So I think I've just been told that I have 5 minutes, so I'll try to rush through. Practical steps for taking action again, leverage technology and collaboration. I mentioned it already for collaboration. You can collaborate. You don't have to do it alone. Like I said, for somebody that owns a barbering salon, you find out that in your plaza you have about 5 or 6 people that own the barbering salon. Instead of buying generators for the 5 shops, you can talk to them. Okay, we can get solar panels, we can get inverters, we can get clippers that are rechargeable. And some of these things, at the end of the day, you find out that they are even more cost effective than buying a generator and fueling it all on your own. So collaboration, as an individual, you find ways to collaborate with other people. You are going out, you're driving, instead of driving empty to the location, you could stop at the junction, ask people, are you going this way? Then you can even make money from it instead of driving empty to the place and coming back and then polluting the environment with CO2 just because you want to go and buy shawarma. Do you understand? So these are the things that you consider. The idea is in the mindset. It's not even in anything else. It's in the mindset. The idea that whatever you're doing, you are considering the environment. You're considering the footprint that you are leaving in terms of your carbon footprint now. So you need to leverage technology that carbon footprint tracking, emission trading, renewable energy certificates, supply chain transparency, and energy grid management. These are all technological terms that I would like to define each one of them, but I don't think I have the time. So if you have any question around this or you need more clarity on this, I think at the end of the session, my email will be published along with this. I think you will still have access to be able to reach me and ask your questions so that I can give you a breakdown on any of these technological terms that have been mentioned. So the challenges ranges from initial costs, knowledge gap, resistance to change. So a lot of people don't like change. So when you tell that your colleague in that your barbing plaza that we need to ditch this generator and get solar panels and inverter, they might not like it. Somebody might tell you that those clippers that are rechargeable are fake. They are China. They will spoil in the next 1 month. But we know that it's not always true, right? So some people will always say those things. So those are some of the challenges. The knowledge gap. Some people don't even understand what climate change is. Some people don't even believe that anything is happening. Even as much as we're saying it and shouting it and preaching it, some people still believe that everything is fine, like nothing is happening. So it is difficult to even have conversation with such people. Now, the talk about initial cost, adopting solar energy might seem expensive upfront. Like I said, when you want to purchase maybe 2 solar panels and an inverter for your business, it might be look very expensive. But the truth is that on the long run, you are likely going to find out that you you are saving more money by having that inverter and solar panel installed. But there is no doubt that the upfront money at the time to bring out that initial money for the initial cost, it's not something that everybody can do. So that's another challenge that we have. So the solutions: financial support and grants, um, crowdfunding, education, and of course, we advise to start small. So, like I said before, you don't need to do everything, make everything sustainable in your house. You have sustainable fan, sustainable television, sustainable everything. No, you must not have all these things, especially if you cannot afford them. But the ones you can do, start from there. That is what we mean by starting small. Now, then for the education, you should be able to, after this lecture and after this academy, you should be able to go out and tell people, educate people on climate change, make them understand why we need to take action. Okay. Then financial support, crowdfunding, like I said, coming together with your friends to be able to afford some of these things that you wouldn't afford on your own is a way of circumventing the financial hurdle. So grants and can you can get grants that would allow you to purchase some of these things. Some people do all this whole pay small, small, pay later thing when it comes to solar, especially in 2025, we have a lot of them. And if you look at the graph, you see that the cost of solar is actually falling over the years. So solar is getting more cheap. That's the truth. Although the economy might make it look like it's not true, but trust me, solar is more cheap today than it was 20 years ago. All right. So those are some of the solutions that we have. Now, call to action and roadmap for transformation. First of all, do a review, audit your business yourself as an individual and your environmental impact or your business environmental impact. Set measurable goals. Train yourself and your co-workers on the need for the change that we need to make. Make sure that you're track the progress using tools and metrics. And then once you have this in place, the next thing is for you to share your story to inspire other people. Because, like we said, a lot of the issue we have when it comes to climate change and taking action against it is the knowledge gap. A lot of people don't know. Then a lot of people don't understand. Is a different thing knowing and it's a different thing understanding. So make sure that when you have achieved, even if it's the smallest goal, even if it's you that used to litter everywhere before, now you take care of your waste properly. You should be able to tell your neighbors, oh, me, before I used to buy everywhere I'm going, I'm buying pure water and then I'm throwing it on the floor. But now I bought myself a reusable bottle water and water bottle and I carry it around and it's more sustainable and I drink enough water. It may help me drink enough water every day. That is you sharing your story. That is you inspiring others. Like I said, I don't give examples of other worldly things that you might not relate to. I try to give examples of things that happen to people, human beings like you and I, all right? So
Good evening, everyone. Please, I'm not hearing anything.
is that how it is with everybody else?
Hi, Chris. Probably our network. I hear you clearly. Please continue.
Okay.
You might
So
want to check your network. Yeah.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you so much. So I'm trying to close. So I'm closing with this quote from the former CEO of Puma. It says sustainability is no longer about doing less harm, it's about doing more good. So this quote challenged me because it calls for a change in perspective. Okay, so instead of thinking about how to do less harm, why not think about how to do more good? It might not seem like so much, but when you sit down and reflect on this, and this is not just about sustainability now, it's about real life issues. Like when you reflect about how you perceive certain things around you, you find out that maybe you've been perceiving these things the wrong way. Instead of perceiving it the negative way, why not perceive it from the positive aspect? So instead of thinking about sustainability as doing less harm, let us think about it as doing more good. So I think that's the end of my presentation and lecture, and I hope that you were able to take something from it. If you have any questions, you can ask your questions now. I think the moderator will moderate that. I have my phone number and more importantly, my email address up on the screen. If you're unable to reach me now, you can always reach me via my email address. So thank you for listening, and I really, really appreciate your audience and your time. And I'll be expecting your questions.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Chris. That was really mind-blowing, insightful. Greenies, are you still with us? Please go to the chat room and appreciate him for taking time out to dissect this concept. Okay, I hope you had gotten inspired. You are better informed on this concept. So please, without further ado, because time is running so fast, we want to take questions. We'll just be taking only 2. Should you have further questions, he has already given you access to his email and to his phone number. You can always ask your question. So if you have question, you can ask, you can put it in the chat room, or you can just use the electronic hand and I will unmute you to ask your question should you want to say it out. So please, question time. So he started from definition part to the science of climate change, the effect, and practical steps. I'm sure you got how relatable these things are. It's not a cliche or something that, it's not something that big for you not to understand. And if it was big before, it's now broken down. So please, question. You will definitely get the presentation slide.
Good evening,
Our,
everyone.
our facilitators are very, very resourceful that way. Yeah, someone is raising up her hand. Okay, we have 2 people.
Yes, good evening.
Question. Yeah, you have a question, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so please go ahead. After which, Elvis, you can ask, but just wait for me to call you first. So please, quickly.
Okay, ma'am. I heard him say, of burning fuel with our own cars. We can utilize that by and reduce the amount of fuel being burned to reduce the amount of waste we are producing by going for public transport and the rest. But how about we look at some other side effects of going into all this public transportation? Like public transport, it's very easy to contact some communicable diseases through public transport. Isn't that supposed to be part of the considerations made in for innovations on sustainable development?
Okay, so what's your question?
What I'm saying, my question is that are we not supposed to consider that we are great managed? Is it not going to affect our health? Are we supposed to consider the bad of making decisions? Too much of innovation than good.
Okay, your line was breaking. I don't know if you just me.
Especially.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Chris, please, did you get her question? I think
Okay,
she's talking about the public transport switching
yes,
or alternative ways and all of that with health related. Yeah. Can
yeah,
quickly
I think
Okay.
I think that was Helen. I think your line was breaking, but I got some of the things, questions you're trying to ask, and I think your question is, shouldn't the safety of the individual be in consideration, seeing that you could contact communicable disease when using the public transport? So if that's your question, this is my answer to the question. So, like I mentioned, the issue of being sustainable or putting the environment first or into consideration when making decisions is not something that is set in stone, like in every aspect you must. No, you do what is possible. Now, I personally believe that the fight for sustainability is a mindset thing. So, for example, in the case of public transports and contacting disease, I mean, a lot of people use public transports. A lot of people, most of us here use public transport. And I don't think there has been on record that somebody went entered public transport and they contacted the disease that killed them eventually. Now, is that a sacrifice that you are willing to make for the environment, for the cause that you believe in, for the idea that you deciding not to drive yourself to that location and burning that fossil fuel that will release CO2 that accounts for 70 odd percent of the climate change that we are facing today? Is that something you're willing to do? That is the question that we are asking everybody on this call, that we're asking everybody everywhere in the world. So if you think that being in taking your own private car to a location will save you from contacting communicable disease in a public transport, right? Is that enough reason to endanger the environment? I don't know if you understand. So it's a mindset thing. It is about what is important to you. And what we're trying to make you understand is it is important that the environment is a factor in your decision as an individual or as a business. So if you're going to go to a location and you're going to be driving yourself, it means that, let's say it is unavoidable, it's something you cannot afford to do. But if it's something you can afford to do, then take the public transport. That is what we're preaching. That is what we're saying. So I think that's the answer to your question, Helen.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. Helen, we hope your question have been answered. So please, time
Yes,
is not on our... Okay, great. Time is not on our side, and we want to wrap up things for tonight. I don't know the other person if he still have his question. Please, if you have your question, reach out to him. The slide will be shared with us. His number is there and definitely is also on the group. He has been following through. So you have direct access to him as relating to this lecture. So please, you can reach out should you have further questions, and you can always reach out to any of the admins for your question. With that said, please, once again, let's appreciate our dear facilitator. Thank you so much, Chris, for tonight's lecture. We are grateful, even though the network decided to start its thing. And to every one of you who have decided to attend and stay to this point, we appreciate you. If our facilitator was here and you're not here, it wouldn't have been successful. So thank you to all GSAMs on the call, to every Greenie, to our dear chief hosts for making this possible, to Plugin Nigeria, and to everyone connected on YouTube. Please indicate your presence on YouTube, okay? Let's know that you were connected on the call. You can just type in what you learned from there and appreciate our dear facilitator also. Okay, so at this juncture, what we have left shouldn't take us more than 10 minutes. The plan is not to offshoot time. However, you'll bear with us. So let's all, thank you. Let's all locomote back to the group. Okay, we're going to say good night from here on the call. So everyone back to the group so that we can round off day 5. Thank you. All right, let's go there. The